KBBBL Podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.
Where's my elephant? I've got to find that sound.
You found it. Here at KBBBL Podcast, where the extra B is for BYOBB. And what's that extra B stand for?
The blues, which I think is for obvious reasons this episode.
Oh, man.
Pulling out the big guns.
You play the blues pretty well for somebody with no real problems, Davan.
Isn't that true? Yeah. I am your host.
You're really bad at this.
Hey,
Is that the
Bart
right
said-
clip?
Bart.
I mean,
Shut up, Bart.
I mean, I agree with him. It just
Eat my shorts.
And with me is, well, you know what? I know what you're thinking. Who are those two young Hellcats? Well, I'll tell you. These two young Hellcats who have their heads securely fastened to their necks, I might add, are Jazzhole
Hey, everybody.
and Fear of the Unfamiliar.
I should have just said fear the unfamiliar. The of that's a mouthful. But
I just
living like
love. Yeah.
And I'm Blood and Guts
like it.
Skelhorn. Did I say that part? I may
Yeah.
not have.
I just like how vulgar the jazz hole reference is. We
Yeah,
all
it's
know what they were going for.
I wonder if Baker has a new tattoo, asks Superfan Sam. You know, that's a good question. That's a question that we normally would answer
the look on his face. I don't think he's got one this week.
in a
No.
particular place.
Au contraire. Au contraire.
With a cool glass of turnip juice.
Well, we're under the turnip tree here, fellas. I forgot our little
Indeed,
intro.
we
bangers.
are.
I'm going to fire
And
those up now.
What a lovely
But
tree it is.
before we go, before we sit under the tree, I should say we are here to review season 1, episode 6 of The Simpsons, Moaning Lisa, written by Al Jean and Mike Rice, and directed by Wes Archer. All right,
Yeah, it's a
now
great
let's go sit under that tree, fellas. How was your week? Well, first
It was
off,
good.
Baker, any new tattoos?
I don't know if you'd call it 4 or 3 because 1 was a continuation of the back. So the back now has color. It has, I guess I'll
Yeah,
keep
take
doing
it
it.
off.
Here we go.
So you can see I've got the
Too
peonies.
sexy for
colored
my
in.
shirt.
I'll keep my shirt on for the rest of the podcast. So yeah, the more of the work on the back. I don't want to give everything away in the first season, boys. But yeah,
we're
more work on
easy
the back.
over here at KBBBL.
And then 3 small filler tattoos. I got like a vampire teeth on my arm, and then I had a swallow done on the back of my leg. And oh gosh, what was the other one? An eyeball on my ankle. Fun stuff. So, just casual week. What are you guys
wait
been up
4
to?
episodes to get 4 tattoos, just to know in 1 week. Whatever.
Yeah, you're wasting
Just
valuable.
moving.
You're wasting valuable
Hey, I never
podcast
said-
material. Like,
I
Exactly.
never said it would be 1 tattoo per episode, just that I would keep getting tattooed in between episodes. I got plenty of skin left, boys. It'll be like the
Do you
seasons
though?
of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
It'll
most of
just
your back
peter
is
out.
done. Well, you know there, fellas.
yeah, nothing much going on
A
here,
beer
man.
that
Just
makes
getting
the
Christmas
days
wrapped up.
fly by.
Beer. Now there's a temporary solution.
Ah,
The cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Did you get
Hold on, before we-
BYOBB? fellas?
oh, I did. But before we get to the plugs, we're just skipping over your guys' Under the Turnip Tree. So should we just change the name of the segment to Baker's Tattoo?
No, we're gonna get back to that. We're gonna get back
we-
to that. I'm just I'm just
Well,
throwing a little whimsy out there. I was
And
gonna
if we
Okay,
do
yeah.
I
that,
thought let's launch the segment.
if we do
You're
that,
doing
that's
a
a real
jazz
commitment
podcast.
breaker. Like it has
Yeah.
to stop being a joke, and you have to like commit to doing one every week if we change the name of the segment. So
That is
I mean,
true.
that's
That is
that's
true.
all up to you.
And
right?
then you will run out of skin. And then
Mm.
you have to start doing cover-ups for like season. Like there could be a lot of seasons of this.
Yeah.
So
I hope there is. I'm having a lot of fun, guys. I don't know about you.
oh yeah. Well, I am too, and there's so much good Simpsons to come.
All right, without straying too far, though, what beers did we
Yes,
all
the
bring for today's
BYOBB.
episode?
Well, I shall feature tonight from Two Crows Brewing. Did I say brewering? Brewery or brewing? Pick one. Not
Well,
brewery.
if the fans didn't notice, they notice now.
Yeah.
Well,
Way to expose
I got to
yourself.
be honest with our fans. The Pollyanna Northeast IPA. A lot of IPAs down here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? I haven't
that's
tried
where
much.
the
Two
IPA
Crows.
became
How's that?
famous. This one is my favorite, Two Crows,
Okay.
and 7.3%. So she's a little stiff, but I don't mind that in an IPA. That's what you want in an IPA, in fact. And she's tasty, very not too bitter. I like bitter anyway, but for those who don't, this is a good drink in IPA.
Yeah, it looks nice and like foggy too.
Yeah, oh yeah, you want a foggy IPA. I agree.
Yeah. Nice looking texture there.
Mhm. You fellas, but you got Baker. You just took a sip.
Yeah.
I'm boring. I brought a tall boy, but it's just another
Look to the dirty
blonde.
blonde again. Look, Baker, you keep
plugged up
doing
the
that, and
dirty
we
blonde.
will get ourselves a sponsorship. We will.
I mean, I
Well-
live nearby. It's a great brewery. They have other beers. I will get other kinds besides just dirty blonde.
Go down
from
there and get
9 Locks.
get the hell out stout. Go grab one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Delicious.
But kind of related to the tattoo gag, we have so many seasons to go. There'll be plenty of time to
true.
explore different varieties. My standard is usually a light blonde kind of beer, and 9 Locks, they make a nice blonde beer. So that's my
They
The
choice.
key is when you start repeating yourself, just pretend you didn't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 Locks, I'd say, for my money, is probably one of the most
Great.
like standard good brewery. Like everything they have is like a hit. It's good enough. You know what I mean? They're probably like one of the best all around ones, in my opinion. I love 9 Locks, but
Very friendly staff too. I was in today.
Yeah, they're
Super
great.
nice.
I'm
They're
super lame.
nice when I ask them for a sponsorship.
I'm super lame. I just have Oland Export, which is
Oh well, that reminds us of our youth.
it
That's
is.
one of
It
the
reminds
first
of our
things to
heritage.
start
It's not a
Yeah.
microbrew, but I had half a case in the fridge, and I couldn't justify going to get more beer if I have 6 of these
Mhm.
here already.
Well,
You
no,
just-
it's a story. Tell the people who aren't from Nova Scotia why that's such a classic.
Because it's sort of the counterpart to Alexander Keith's, which is what I mean. At one point in time, was a local brewery, but now it's just like a giant part of the conglomerate. I think it's part of Labatt's, like, you know what I mean. But once upon a time, it was founded here, and a lot of the marketing around it was like East Coast, like shipfarers, seafarers, and like them taking like the kegs of Alexander Keith's and everything, and all it was real like East Coast like marketing around it. And like you can visit this gentleman's like grave. He's buried in downtown Halifax. And people always do jackass stuff like on his birthday, go and try to get drunk at the gravesite and stuff, and fucking have to get kicked out and everything. But anyway, Olin's is like, for my money, it's like a bit of an easier sipper counterpart to the Alexander Keith's. And like marketing wise, like I almost want to say it's more like a little more working class. Like I always call it like punk juice back when I was on the scene. Like the punks and the metalheads always drank the Olin's, right? Like,
that's
and
what I
then
was
you
sort
get
of-
then like the old man working is like Schooners, like the next level down. It's like
working man's beer, and then Schooner's like a classier working man's beer.
yeah.
I'm also sipping my Christmas whiskey from Francis.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Davin's gonna be turned by the end of this episode in case everyone is prepared for that.
Oh look, the fans have seen it before.
Nothing wrong with that for a jazz themed episode. Am I right, boys?
He played Ephraim Cochrane method style on Star Trek Radio Theater, so they've seen it. So, how was your week, Francis?
I mean, it was fine. Just Christmas was really good with the boy. I had the week off, so we got to spend a lot of time together because he's not back in school until next week. But I mean, pretty laid back overall. It's good.
Very good. Same here. Yeah, Christmas was fun with the girl, and she had like 4 Christmases. She broke it up into like 4 different times. She was loving it. So now she just expects Christmas every day.
Yeah, that's what
Spoiled
happens.
kid.
Every day's
Oh,
Christmas.
she is, but I wouldn't
Lucky
have
kid.
it any other way.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
you were the
Well,
TV, do you think?
Yeah, well, there we go. So introspection, fellas. So we have on the chalkboard this evening. I will not. What is it? Instigate revolution.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't
Pretty
even catch
funny.
that call. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Was it-
That's the first one that I
Yeah.
think is kind of clever because before they were just typical like kid in the being bad at
Prankster.
school stuff.
Yeah, they're like
yeah.
classroom bad stuff, just like really
Yeah.
kind of typical stuff. This is probably the first one that's actually like, hey, and also kind of like from the writers to be like, let's see if anyone's paying attention to these. Let's throw some
Yeah.
weird shit
Get
out
silly
there,
with
right?
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Aside from that, this one's pretty pedestrian, except we get a rare full intro. The very, very rarely used full intro where
Yeah.
we see Bart take the bus sign and Lisa biking with her books
Biking.
and her instrument.
That seems to
It
be the first
really-
thing they cut is her bike.
Yeah, because it doesn't add a ton. What it does establish is that Lisa is a bookish,
They still have
character
her
who
run
likes
in with
music.
the books. So
Yeah. Well, they maintain some of it. It's appropriate though that it's here, I guess, for the first Lisa themed episode of the show.
yes, indeed.
Good point. I wonder if that was intentional.
And the couch gag, they all sit down. Yeah, Maggie goes flying into the air this time, but they catch her. Don't worry.
I love that popping noise.
Yeah, no, they did the pop last couch gag too, but it was Homer.
Yeah.
They need a bigger couch.
Yeah, good
It's clear
stuff.
already, 6 episodes in. Sam wants to know, is that a neck tattoo, Francis?
Yes, it is. So this is my only, well, I shouldn't say my only bragging rights, but whenever Baker has his new tattoos, I have a full neck.
Oh,
tattoo.
dude, it
you just
looks
see
amazing.
Francis try to scratch his neck. It's like,
Yeah, it's all
Dude, it looks amazing.
And it's like down my
Sweet.
back and like my shoulder blade and stuff. And I have half sleeves on both my arms, and the back of my right calf is done. But I haven't gotten a tattoo in a little bit over a decade. I stopped getting when I was like 24. Not for any real particular reason. I just, at the time I was living a lifestyle where I had
for
some
season 3.
less responsibilities and more expendable income, and that was what was going on. And
Life,
playing in
man.
bands and stuff, and that was the thing you did when you were young,
Yeah.
a young musician. But
Now you have a kid.
Should I call my hellfish Skelfish?
That's really good. I like that.
I don't know, but I kind of want to be like your guys' one too. We should have the same thing, so you should all be Skelfish.
Nah, well, you have the Skelfish, but it'll be the Hellfish, except it's like your face on it.
He has a beard.
Yeah.
This is the bearded hellfish.
Bearded fish that's got to be hanging out too close to the nuclear power plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now it's time for a breakdown.
Don't mind if I do.
Phenomena. Let's break this episode down a little bit.
I'm going crazy.
Phenomena.
I'm gonna nail
I
that
love
phenomena one of these
Yeah.
times. I just want to say it right at the same time he does.
This episode, we got a little Homer freak out when he was explaining the very simple range of emotions that he experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
So you know what, fellas? You feel like instigating some revolution?
Every day.
Yeah.
Well, that depends. Is Prussia still a country?
Yeah, we can make it one.
We'll just change some of these documents here.
Yeah.
Treaty of what? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That'll be our revolution to reinstitute the sovereignty of Prussia.
Yeah. Guys, I actually have decided I can't
Our cause is
podcast.
careful.
I can't podcast anymore because I am sad. I'm sorry.
Oh no, just like Lisa here.
Yeah. Oh man, I loved this episode, guys. I can't hide
This
it.
episode
I
is
know we're gonna rank
friggin'
it.
great.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
and
laughed,
we'll rank
but
it
I
later
also
at the end.
I
Another
love
one was
the
kind of
way.
like a little underwhelmed, and like it's good on like the family side and like the heart and like that aspect of it, and like we do get introduction to Bleeding Gums, who I think is like a great side character that they don't overdo. But still, it left me kind of meh by the end. But I mean, we'll get to that as we get to our stuff,
maybe
but
maybe this little tidbit will enhance your enjoyment, Francis, because as you said, it's a very dramatic episode. And James L. Brooks, that's exactly what he was going for. He's like, we've done 5 funny episodes, and now I want to just do one. He just wanted to do an episode where Lisa was sad and didn't know why. And he decided to go full kind of serious. There is funny stuff, but like they still have Mo gags. But the whole point here is to just be like a heartwarming sitcom episode. Like,
Well,
you know,
it's
up
a
there with the greats.
homage.
Like,
Yeah, it's a
this
homage
is
to All
great.
in the Family. Yeah, there's an episode of All in the Family from 1974 called Gloria Sings the Blues, which is all about the character Gloria, kind of like Lisa, feeling very depressed and, you know, kind of similar story arc, but of course with a Simpsons twist.
So, you know, Homer's looking for his keys. And
I love this. I love Bart's just like kind of toying with Homer.
Yeah, acting like he knows where they are, but he's just
Homer, you'd lose your head if it weren't securely fastened to your neck.
Just like you guys.
We'll get to that later. There's that one scene where Homer, I think he's just imagining his head exploding. There's another scene where his head is a donut and he starts to eat it. You know, so there are scenarios where Homer loses his head or would lose his head.
One of us has scarfed down more than enough cupcakes over the past 3 decades to keep it.
Bart! Just take mine. A simple cupcake will bring me no pleasure.
A simple cupcake will bring her no pleasure. Would it bring you guys pleasure right now?
It would, actually, yes. I would love a cupcake. Do you have one for us? Do you have somebody outside my house right now to give me a cupcake?
You didn't.
Davan.
What if I said I did?
Oh, see, and this is why
cupcake.
This podcast is magical. It'll be like one of those Peter Pan cupcakes that I just, you know, if I believe hard enough, it'll materialize.
The cupcake is cursed.
Oh no!
But it has delicious frosting.
That's good.
But the frosting is also cursed.
That's bad. But yes, Lisa is sad. Homer left his keys in the door. Boys, have you ever done that? Be honest.
Well, I do it all the time.
All the time.
I've done it. I've done it once.
Me off.
Especially always be doing something. You'll be carrying in groceries, or your arms are all full, and you're buried. You do the thing where you have it, and you kind of like pull out your keys with your teeth to get the right one up.
Oh yeah.
And you get it in the door, and you lay everything down, and then like you think you're good, and you don't notice until you like try to leave again, and you're like, what the hell? Or sometimes because I'm in an apartment building, sometimes people just knock on my door and be like, yo, your keys are in the door, man.
I used to catch more shit for it, but now I'm just like, what? I had a baby in my arm, a fussing baby.
I had a baby. I'm allowed to leave my keys.
Yeah. Would it have been better for me to bring in the keys and forget the baby outside?
Yeah, do you want the keys in my pocket, but the baby on the driveway? Like, what do you want?
Just to be clear, the house is on fire, Davan. You're saving the baby, not the TV, right?
Me, the baby, every time. I don't care about the TV. I mean, what is it, 1989?
Well, these are some maladjusted Simpsons. We'll get into this a little bit.
Well, yeah, okay. So Lisa's, you know, not having a great time, clearly. So then we're at band practice. And she's just kind of jamming away. Mr. Lago
like in the intro.
Doesn't like any of that stuff. Yeah, like in the intro. But now, is this the first episode where her sax is not blue? Because now it's
they colored it correctly. Yeah.
I like the music teacher's dismissiveness when she's talking about
He's
blues
the
is
worst.
for all these like people, and he's just like, well, none of those unpleasant people are going to be at the recital next. Like,
Well,
he
I
calls
have
them
that here.
unpleasant people. And I was
The
like,
family living in their car.
Crazy bebop in my country, 'tis of thee.
But Mr. Longo, that's what my country's all about.
What?
My country's all
The
about
Iowa
crazy
farmer whose
bebop.
land
too.
has been taken away by unfeeling bureaucrats. The West Virginia coal miner coughing up.
Well, that's all fine and good, but Lisa, none of those unpleasant people are going to be at the recital next week.
Those downtrodden people, they don't matter. They're not going to be at the recital.
who does his voice? Because I'm getting a little feeling like
She-
almost.
Here, Harry Shearer.
Well, I mean,
He's
who,
Shearer is one of the major like auxiliary roles in
Yeah,
The Simpsons.
like, he
I
does
was gonna say, I'm hearing a tinge of
Moe.
Mr. Burns in there, like right
Here.
now, maybe before they were.
Here, let me
Yeah,
just go
he-
through. Mr. Burns,
Actually, I think
Flanders,
Dan
Skinner,
Castellaneta.
Reverend Lovejoy. No,
Yeah, can
Shearer.
we check on who does Burns?
Okay,
Yeah, because you
sure.
can hear
Yeah,
some
yeah,
Burns,
I'm- most
some
of them.
Burns tinge in there. for
I'm
sure.
checking right now. It's Mr. Burns, Ned Flanders, Seymour Skinner, Reverend Lovejoy are some of like the major guys that he does.
Yeah.
He also
Hibbert.
does Hibbert, Marvin Monroe, which he stopped as we were saying because it makes his
He's
voice.
Ken
heard.
Brockman.
He does Lenny, Kang, Scratchy. There's a lot of funny characters.
Well,
that
no,
he
just
does.
scratchy, but not itchy. Yeah.
Doesn't he do Krusty?
He does Otto. He does Principal Skinner. He
Or
does
does Dan
do-
Castellaneta do Krusty?
Yeah, I think actually Castellaneta does Krusty.
Yeah, he does. All right.
But yeah, he's one of the major voice actors. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
What can you say except he's an amazing talent? He's so
Oh,
good.
yeah. Yeah, and Spinal Tap.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Spinal Tap.
I love
That's what-
Spinal Tap's cameos.
What is
There are
this?
multiple Spinal Tap cameos, and they're
Rock
all
and roll
hilarious.
concert, not a bleeding splash show.
That show went
This
pretty
is
good.
my exact skeleton. Except it's not green. It is green.
Ah, man.
Yeah, the Spinal Tap.
Great stuff.
But so, then there's a food fight, and Lisa just sits there taking food to the face and doesn't really do anything. Then she's in
Yeah.
gym class and it's doing the same thing. They're playing dodgeball.
I'm too sad.
Too sad to play dodgeball? That's ridiculous. Now let's see some enthusiasm.
You're an elf that
Different
wants to
time.
not make toys for Christmas? You're an elf that wants to be a dentist? It's just silly.
In 1989, there was never an excuse to be sad. It was just like
Social
Smart now.
ostracization. Yeah.
Or to not
Poor
like
Lisa.
participate in gym class. Like I feel like anytime you watch movies too from like the 70s or even like the 80s, and like people who don't want to do sports just being ostracized and just like the school sports must have been such a bigger deal, and I think they are like in the States, like in
Yeah.
particular, than they were for us growing up. You know what I mean? Like if you just didn't bring your
nobody
shorts,
cares.
they would just sit you out
Yeah.
of gym class. Cool, sit over there. You didn't bring shorts. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, there was. I remember some forms of like bullying or whatnot, but it didn't have anything to do with like shorts or anything like that. Usually had to do with me having a big mouth, running my mouth.
yeah.
Yeah, me too.
You
You and I had a little bit of Bart Simpson in us there,
Eat my
Baker.
shorts.
Yeah, a Bart Nelson or a Bart Martin Prince rather hybrid maybe. It's a bit of a know-it-all who never knew when to shut his mouth. That was a teacher's pet.
I think we had the same high school experience.
Quidgy
Yeah. Oh man. So
Pretty
Lisa gets sent home. She can't play dodgeball because
Yep.
she's sad. She gets a note anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's actually sent home. But a note
No,
is
she
sent
just
home.
gets a note. The note sent home with her, yeah. And Bart and Homer are playing the boxing game on with the old Atari controllers. That was
Yeah.
very nostalgic for me. I used to love those
Homage
controllers. They weren't
to
very
a lot of
well made, mind you.
Yeah, they weren't very
Yeah.
responsive.
No, they
homage
weren't.
to an older, simpler video gaming time. Or I guess not really. For that time, it was contemporary, but it was probably a homage to like the Nintendo fighting boxing game, Super Punch Out.
I actually got like Andre for Christmas. It's this like little. It's shaped almost like not a Game Boy, but more like maybe like one of the later ones. So it's more like rectangular, and it's just loaded with a bunch of original Nintendo games on it. It was like $40 on Amazon, some
That's
total
awesome,
bootleg
man.
thing. It is
Nice.
awesome. But he'll be
I
trying
want
to
to
play
see the lineup
games.
on that, by the way.
Well, yeah, but he'll be trying to play games and they're not super. But Daddy, it didn't work. I hit the jump button. I didn't jump quick enough and I died. Why?
Oh,
And
yeah.
What's the friendliest way I can be like, I don't know, because it's kind of
Nintendo
crap sometimes. Like I don't know.
Get good.
Look, there's
You have to
Andre,
learn-
there
you have
were
to learn
these
to
things
account-
called bits. This is
Yeah, you
only
have to
8
learn-
of them.
Yeah, you got to learn to account for that delay. That's part of the training, right?
Here's
Yeah.
that picture of you
Different time.
that I
Video
on my
games-
phone. That's way more bits than this entire game.
Video games back then were designed to get your quarters, which we'll get into the quarter aspect of this when Homer hits the arcade. But these games, they were hard because they wanted you to lose. They only gave you a certain amount of lives because they wanted you to get game overs. They wanted you to keep plugging quarters into the machine. It was a money-making thing.
I have a 16-bit gaming segment on my X-Men show. You're talking to a guy who thinks video games peaked at 16 bits. So
16-bit? Yeah, well, we can
man,
maybe
Super
talk
Nintendo
about
has all the best games on.
Yeah, I love the Super Nintendo for sure. We'll talk more about video games as this podcast goes along too, because of course.
Indeed, because we'll play. I want to do some special segments where the three of us play Simpsons video games. So
yeah, I like it.
We'll do that as well. And they send the note home, and Homer suffers his 49th loss to Bart. He cannot handle Bart in this boxing game.
But they sent a note from school.
What did you do this time, you little hoodlum? Whoop, get out of the way!
I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. There's no way they can prove anything.
I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. So clearly
It's
Bart
a
did something at school this day.
Well, no, but he
not even
does
a
so much
central
stuff
character.
that he's like,
Yeah.
he can't even pinpoint what specifically it would be. He's just like, I'll deny everything. There's no way they can prove
All
it.
I know is no one was there.
Yeah, exactly.
He has no plot this episode. He just exists as a schmarmy little
Yeah,
he's
he's
just a little shit,
instigator.
really.
Yeah.
He's just stirring up trouble. I love when it's like, don't make me say that I love Lisa. You know it. I know it. We all know it. Don't make me say it. Come on.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dad, but you wouldn't understand.
Oh, sure I would, Princess. I have feelings too. You know, like my stomach hurts or I'm going crazy.
I have
Those are the
too.
Those are the two emotions that he goes with. I love it.
They're like the only two he has. Really.
Well, and also
That
just
one-
completely reinforces for her that he doesn't understand, right?
Yeah. Yeah, one is not really an emotion per se. Like hunger is more of a physical, it's more of a baser, it's not really an emotion. And then the other emotion is just him feeling like he's losing his mind. So it's just those are the two examples he goes with. That says a lot about Homer, I think.
So Lisa goes, takes a bath, and Bart and Homer play another game, and Homer gets beat again.
He sure does.
Yeah, it's funny. The characters even look like themselves.
Yeah, no, in the video game.
Man.
Well, when he
Bart
goes to the
looks
arcade, it also still looks like the two of them. So, that's just
That's
something
true.
that shows those guys, yeah.
And so, after the bath, Lisa starts jamming on the sax a little bit.
Don't go for the glitter. Look for substance.
Oh, that's when they're trying to see who Maggie likes
Yeah, when
best.
they're trying to get Maggie, doing the lost dog thing, come to which owner you like best.
We're
Just
doing a real
chill,
impressionist episode, guys. It's a jazz episode. It's all good. Jumping around.
We are, but
Getting sound
just
bites out of order.
Lisa's getting her jam on, because honestly, when you play an instrument and you're not feeling great, especially with the blues, jamming's awesome, man, and jamming does help, and Lisa knows that. She's a very competent musician.
I was just playing the blues, Dad.
This
is heartbreaking
sad.
stuff.
This is really sad, yeah.
It's really heartbreaking stuff, because Homer's just like, Lisa, stop being so noisy. I'm trying to beat Bart in a stupid video game.
He really just doesn't know how to handle Lisa. He means well, but he's
She
just
has
not
complex thoughts and emotions, and he doesn't have any
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah. The Simpsons family really, none of them are able to really, I think, help her.
Marge can, and she does in
kind
this
of
episode,
does.
and it's kind of beautiful, and we're gonna get
But-
there.
Yeah, it takes her some kind of, it takes her an
No, she-
epiphany because we'll get into her own kind of messed up childhood and her own suppressed emotions.
Well, every time we see her mother is just like the most miserable person ever. Like,
But she has an
just that
iguana.
coughing laugh.
Jub Jub.
Yeah.
How can
Oh,
someone
Chub
who has a pet Jub Jub, or is it Chub Chub?
Chub
The
belongs to
iguana.
Patty and Selma,
Chub
right?
Chub with
It is
J's.
Jub Jub. No, but
I thought it was
she
Chub
passes
Chub.
away. It's Jub
Jub
Jub.
Jub? Are you serious?
Yeah,
I'm almost
I'm pretty
positive.
certain.
I thought it was
Yeah.
Chub Chub all these years.
I've been calling her Crandall.
I've been
but,
calling her Crandall. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, Davan, what it was is that when Marge's mom passes away, I forget.
Yeah,
if it's
Jub
Patty
Jub with
or Selma.
J's.
Yeah,
Oh,
one
wow,
of them is
it's Jub Jub.
inherited. One of them inherits Jub Jub.
Oh, you're
from
right. You're right.
Marge's mom.
Right.
Unless my fingers clacking on the keys is too loud for you.
Let's hear it.
He needs to hear it first.
You want, Lise.
You just clap as loud as you want, Lise. That's him being a good parent. That's his
No, it's
father.
hilarious because he's like, he's trying.
Let's hear
He's
it.
trying to have some sympathy for him, but like deep down, he still wants the quietness to play the video game. So he's still just like,
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
It's very sad. He means well, but he just can't. He can't understand Lisa, and he also, the fact that he won't let her play the damn saxophone when she's sad is so tragic. You click as long as
you clack as long as you like, please.
But he's an oaf, right? It doesn't come from malice, which is why it's hard to in these early.
Oh, he
episodes.
thinks he's being a good dad there by letting her clack away.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know
the
what,
jerk
please?
ass.
I don't want you to even clack,
comes later.
but you just clack your heart out.
Yeah.
But you know,
Then
that's
Homer,
usually
is that
true.
one? Oh yes.
You've got to find that sound.
And she runs around and, running through the streets. Oh, wait, I got some. There she is being sad with her saxophone. Very sad. Look at that.
Yeah.
Man, this is a heartbreaker. But this is a great shot. I love
there's
it.
some good animation in this episode. I really feel like the animation.
they're getting better for sure.
Stepped up. Well, it's important to keep in mind that The Simpsons was a early hit. Like even just the first couple episodes on the Nielsen ratings did really well, and they were doing it as the season unfolded. So I think that there was some like increase in the quality of some of the animation.
Apparently, this one did especially well. This episode.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Although there were some people, Francis, that expressed that, like you, that it wasn't a laugh out loud funny episode.
Well,
it was
very
touching. That day, it certainly was.
Like I need to get a bit more objective with it instead of like only basing it on like my laughs per capita kind of thing. Right? This one has a lot of depth for sure.
Like there's a line in this episode, for example, that if people were like just say randomly to me, say a line from The Simpsons, it might be this one that I pick. And there's a lot of season 1 stuff that's like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised how quotable this episode is. There's a lot of good quotes.
Yeah.
This episode is good. I mean, we're spoiling the ratings a little bit maybe there. But she runs up to Bleeding Gums Murphy. She finds Bleeding Gums Murphy, an old jazz man.
Great character.
That was beautiful. What's it called?
Oh, it's a little tune that I call the I Never Had an Italian Soup Blues.
I love this.
I don't know about you guys. I love Bleeding Gums. He's great.
He's played by Ron Taylor, who plays the Klingon chef on Deep Space Nine. So when they go to the Klingon restaurant, the chef, that's Bleeding Gums Murphy.
Well,
like the Klingon that comes out and gives him the food and plays the lute.
So our first Star Trek tie-in, you might say, or a little Star.
Is that my first one I've managed to do in 6 episodes? I gotta work
yeah.
harder, boys. So I bet you I can do one every episode from now on. We'll see what I can do.
I'm outpacing you.
My friends call me Bleeding Gums.
Ew, how'd you get a name like that?
Well, let me put it this way. You ever been to the dentist?
Yeah.
Not me.
That's the line. Like someone's just like say a line from The Simpsons. I might just say, "You ever been to the dentist?" Not me.
He says though that he should go. He admits that, like, yeah, I should probably go, but
what is it about? Like, see, this is the thing about the season, fellas, and what is it about lines like that? Like a lot of the lines in this season,
that I mean,
laugh
again, I'll
out
tell you
loud, funny, but they're the ones that stick with you forever.
Well, in front of the last
they're
one,
just more
that made me bleed
profound.
my own blood. That has stuck with me for
Yeah,
years.
that's an example. But that's not a laugh out loud funny line either. But yeah,
it's one of those. The more you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
It's funny the first time you hear it, but it gets less funny every time after that you hear it. Or the opposite, the reverse B-sharp effect, where it gets funnier the more you think about it.
I have problems too.
Well, I can't help you, kid. I'm just a terrific horn player with tons of soul. But I can jam with you.
Okay.
I have a little jam here now, and you know what? I'm going to play some of it, fellas, because honestly, it's really good blues, and I'm either going to play it myself or let them do it, so I might as well let them do it.
I'm so lonely since my baby left me. I got no money, and nothing is free.
It's good,
you know what I love that he says?
I've been so lonely since the day I was born. All I got is this rusty old.
I got a bratty brother.
Yeah. Oh, I got that too.
I got a bratty brother. He bugs me every day. And this morning my own mother
gave my last
cupcake. Correction. She volunteered that up. Come on.
That is true. That is false accusations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
She didn't even get the chance for Marge to decide.
I love, though, what he says, and you might have this in a clip coming up, Davan, I'm not sure, is when he says that the blues isn't about making you feel better, it's about making everyone else feel worse.
He belongs in the zoo. I'm the saddest kid in grade number two.
I love.
I'm gonna get this song out on a future episode. I'll tell you that. I'm gonna get Dave Puxley behind me, and we're just gonna.
I love when
we're just gonna jam this episode.
You should do that, Davan. I love what he says right after when he's just like, "You play the blues real well."
You know, you play pretty well for someone with no real problems.
Yes, that to me is my favorite line of the episode. I laughed.
It's like you're still just a kid with like a loving family.
Yeah, and that's kind of it's like an indirect way to be like, you know, it's okay to be sad, but like keep your focus on what counts. Like you got basically homeless, like, you know what I mean, out here, and you still have family.
We'll talk about what he is here in my history segment later.
Okay,
and we'll talk about thing you were talking about. Her sadness we'll talk about as well later. You know, it's complex kind of sadness. She's sad about the world,
complex episode, man. But
James not about herself. She's sad about the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the blues isn't about feeling better. It's about making other people feel worse.
Therefore, making you feel better.
Yeah, catharsis, man. Aristotelian, aesthetics. Purge the pain through exposure to that pain. Works every time.
All right, fellas, you ready for one of the funniest lines of the season?
Lisa, get away from that Jazzman.
Lisa, get away from that Jazzman.
It's very funny.
She doesn't think he's call him like a vagrant or whatever. She's like, no, just what he is. She's like, don't hang on.
Really a Jazzman.
He could be on heroin.
Yeah, he probably
his gums are bleeding, you know. Isn't that like a sign of usually someone drug abuse? Yeah. He's a jazz man.
That Jazzman.
Hey, he represents
that's like Baker's name here. He says, check out my gig later at the Jazz Hole.
Indeed, he does.
But I like Marge, like where I put my name, like fear of the unfamiliar, where she scoffs her daughter, brings her into the car, and then apologizes to him and like totally accepts. She's like, I 100% know that my fear of you is irrational, but it is what it is. Basically, peace.
Yeah, we did, and we did skip there too, where Marge has like a dream. Well, Lisa.
They both have dreams.
Being a little girl, and like
yeah.
Yeah, Homer's just about getting beat up by Bart.
Yeah. Without getting too much into the weeds, Marge's stream is her memories about her mother, basically telling her to suppress her emotions. She says, smile, because then everyone will know that you have a great mother.
Yeah.
So it's not good parenting.
It's just so that people think that her mother's good. And then she doubles down with Lisa and goes in deeper about like push it down to your feet till you're almost walking on them, and like it totally,
take all your bad feelings and push them down all the way down past your knees until you're almost walking on them, and then you'll fit in and you'll be invited to parties.
And boys will like you.
Boys will like you.
And then you'll be happy eventually.
I'm still trying.
Homer watches a news report in the living room where he finds out that Barney's Bowl-O-Rama has burned down.
This is also one of the funniest parts of the episode. I don't know if you have the soundbite, but I work at a museum of natural history, so I can't help but find it hilarious that the Springfield Museum of Natural History. What was it also? I have it written down. The Symphony Hall, and the Arts Center. So those three are burned down. Homer unflinching. And then as soon as Barney's bowling alley is mentioned, he is
runs in to tell Marge.
Marge, of course, worried about Lisa, like a parent would be. Homer, he's like, oh, I know the alleys were a little crooked, but the food, like he's worried about the food at the bowling alley.
Yeah,
like,
and bowling alley food is probably nothing to write home about. Like it's gonna be like
garbage.
It's gonna be roller hot dogs and stale fries.
Yes. Yeah.
So Bart actually tries to cheer up Lisa.
5 months.
And that's when they call Mo.
Yeah, most have it, most speaking.
Is Jacques there?
Who?
Jacques. Last name Strap.
Hold on. Jacques Strap. Hey, guys, I'm looking for a Jacques Strap. What? Oh, wait a minute. Jacques, it's you, isn't it, you cowardly little runt? When I get a hold of you, I am going to gut you like a fish and drink your blood.
Drink your blood.
He just gets more and more intense with the things he's going to do to Bart once he actually catches him.
Yeah. But Lisa doesn't get any laughs out of it. Still sad.
Nothing out of that.
Yeah. And normally she's right there with him on the phone calls and she laughs.
Yeah.
Like normally she likes them too. This isn't Simpsons specific, but like it's funny watching older shows and having the gags or even the complete storyline revolve around like the use of landline phones, which like nobody uses anymore. Like last year, this time I had gotten COVID and I was holed up for a week. So it's like, I'm going to rewatch The Wire. The entire show is based off like wiretapping these drug dealers' phones.
Such a good show.
It's just not. And like somewhere around like season 4 or 5, cell phones start coming into play, which fucks everything
Flip
up.
phones.
You know what I mean?
And all of it's so old and janky by today's standards.
Still a great series.
At the museum, we do programs. One of the programs that we do is like learning about different cultural groups, and we do artifacts that you look at. And one of the artifacts that we have is a flip phone, like an Nokia flip phone. And the kids, they're like, "What is this thing?" Or like we have the tape recorder.
Sam, I didn't mean to insult your preferences.
Listen, I like some greasy spoon food every once in a while. Just going to a pub.
I'm just saying I might not break down knowing that I was unavailable anymore is all.
You'd think Homer would be more worried about the losses to Springfield's culture, but not a thespian.
It takes like till season 10 to actually get him into that museum.
No, what season is
Homer
it?
actually goes.
It's not season 10, is it?
Wow. I think so. It's pretty late.
Okay.
That's the one I was thinking of anyway. So Homer actually goes to the arcade, and there's this kid there who's really good at the boxing game. So
do we see this extra anywhere else? I was racking my brain. I was like, does this kid come back at any time? Yeah.
I feel like he's in the background again, but I don't think he has any more lines.
Very briefly,
but he's played 2,000 games and he's still on his same quarter.
First quarter. What a beast. My favorite background character this episode was the girl with the very thin head when Lisa was playing dodgeball. Did anyone notice this? Very thin-headed girl.
Vaguely.
Fans, go back and look for that girl. You will laugh. It's very funnily animated.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, this kid is a bit of a Bart Simpson
good
in his own right.
He is, and he teaches Homer some tricks. So Homer's pretty ready to take Bart on, or he feels like he can do it.
He teaches him
and
tricks
then,
after he makes it bark like a dog.
True. He's like, bark like a dog. Like, all right, mister. Like,
yeah.
It's like, I like the cut of your chin.
Time.
Yeah, exactly.
Goofy.
So then here's where the episode gets quite dramatic again. Marge goes to drop Lisa off at school. And all the kids are like, first she says,
"Now, Lisa, listen to me. This is important. I want you to smile today."
But I don't feel like smiling.
That's fine, I already played it once, but I'm going to play it again.
Take all your bad feelings and push them down, all the way down, past your knees until you're almost walking on them. And then you'll fit in, and you'll be invited to parties.
Parent of the year.
Yeah.
Then she's doing this fake smile, so the other kids actually think she's cool, and they're just like, "Oh, I thought you were like some freaking brainiac. I guess you're pretty cool."
You can do my homework.
And then Mr. Largo, who is like the worst teacher ever. No wonder they cut him out of this show. He is just the worst.
He was never cut per se, was he? He's just more of a background kind of guy.
No, he just disappeared, but it's like he was the worst teacher ever. Like Krabappel's even a better teacher than this guy.
He's in there here and again because there's like, I don't know what season it is, but they have the competition at the fair, and she's mad because the other team uses the glow sticks. That's pretty late on, and he's in that because he's
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Simpson, I hope we won't have a repeat of yesterday's outburst of unbridled creativity.
Can't have
That's
creativity.
what I should have made my name. Unbridled creativity.
So that's where she gets it.
Marge comes and takes Lisa away. So that's where she gets it. Yeah.
And then Marge's great moment where she realizes that her own mother didn't really teach her the right way to handle these situations.
She was perpetuating
the
bad way of doing things.
Yeah. And also understand
great stuff.
Well, yeah, and to think back, you took that advice from your mother, but did it make you happy? Did it work? Probably not. And now you're trying to put your kid through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, I apologize to you. I was wrong. I take it all back. Always be yourself. You want to be sad, honey? Be sad. We'll write it out with you. And when you get finished feeling sad, we'll still be there.
Yeah, great moment.
So,
kudos to Marge.
That's good.
Great
Tearing up, Davan.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice family moment. It's a nice
and
family
then they
moment
go
for
in.
a family man.
And then Lisa legitimately smiles. And then they go see a jazz show at the Jazz Hole.
Yeah.
Where they
And
hear
Homer
Lisa's lyrics that
he
is so
sings,
sad.
Of course.
What? I love Homer's response.
Moaning and Lisa Blues, actually, which is where we get the name of the episode as well.
Yeah, and they don't do this often, but I do love that this episode goes out with, instead of fade to black credits, we see a silhouette of the Simpsons skyline as the jazz plays and the credits roll. This is the second time, the first time being this Christmas special. But yeah, nice little moment. Ends on a good note, I think.
Yeah, we'd have to agree with you. All right, fellas. Well, let's do it.
Send in those soulful and doleful schmotes by the bowlful.
They're already here.
Sideshow Mel really hits that note. He's great.
Man. I love how both the sideshows are just like these, like, intelligent, well-spoken, educated folks, and they always end up having to play these like gag roles where like Krusty's just completely abusive to them all the time too.
I think that has to be
actors,
part
right?
of the con. That has to be
like legit actors, and can't get real work, so they work for this friggin' clown who shits on them.
When they want to talk to in the Skinner Krabappel episode, and they want to talk to the townspeople, and Superintendent Chalmers like, "Oh, who do you want to talk to first? The so-and-so or the guy with the bone through his hair?" Such a was like, "My opinion is as valid as the next man's."
If you need to in your hair, don't stick it out with a bone.
It's so eloquent. See, we're talking about Sideshow Mel, though. What are you guys' favorite sideshow characters for this episode?
Well, look, for you, it's thin-faced girl.
Yeah. I was.
I'm gonna have to give
for
it
me,
to Mo.
it's Bleeding Gums.
I love my
man.
Mo.
It's
well, Bleeding Gums,
Bleeding
yeah, it's the
Gums.
easy choice here, right?
I'll
I like
pick the
Mo's
easy
a little bit.
choice.
Yeah,
the music's really good. All the Bleeding Gums has a lot of the slick zingers in this one.
Great character, like you said earlier.
Mo,
Francis, he's not overused. He's only used to the amount that they need. He's one of the characters that becomes part of Lisa's, I guess you could say, lore or mythology. She references Bleeding Gums Murphy quite a bit long after he passes away. There's another episode, obviously, where he features spoilers, people, for the Simpsons podcast, which I'm sure you're already familiar. Bleeding Gums Murphy passes away.
Everyone's gonna stop watching the podcast now. They got all the information.
They know.
Now they know Bleeding Gums dies. There's nothing left to talk about.
But yeah, she's like a mentor. He's like a mentor figure for her, kind of like the substitute teacher, voiced by
role model.
Someone
who marches to the beat of their own drum.
Yeah, and is also the only person really who musically understands what she's into. You know what I mean?
There's Largo sucks. Largo sucks, man.
Yeah. So it's like Dustin Hoffman's character, and then Bleeding Gums Murphy. Yeah, Bernstrom and Bleeding Gums are like two of the big pillars of Lisa's idols.
What if your family don't like bread? It's funny because it's true.
Well absorbed. What if they like memes? They don't like bread.
What's our
they
meme?
Like memes.
Well, I absorbed this hilarious bit right here. Partly because as soon as I saw this gag start, it came back to me. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this from being younger. 2, it was just funny. But 3, it's like, again, just like layering on this thickness of this just like not super intelligent or graceful family. They're just like stuck to the TV, and we see that a few times. Homer like doesn't care that Lisa's upset, he just wants to do the video game. You know what I mean? Like, them being glued to the TV is a theme throughout the entire series. And not just that, I mean, sometimes you see just like a wholesome thing where it's like, oh hey, they're gonna watch TV together, it's what they do as a family, cool. But the television being the focal point of like existence for the family comes back again and again. And I think, for the time, it's very topical. Everyone had their living room centered around the television, and, primetime TV was like 2 decades of just, that was how you lived life as like a middle-class family, right?
TGIF on Fridays.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just them, it was us, like you say. Like, there was no such thing as limiting screen time in 1989. If you could distract your child with a TV, you did it. And you didn't feel bad about it. There was no, like, what are the consequences of that back then?
Consequences are terrible podcasts like ours being made 30 years later.
Because people are obsessed with The Simpsons because they just sat there and listened to it.
Butterfly effects of The Simpsons in real time.
It's that's like, you could summarize like our generation like that. Does that mean right there? Like, yeah,
it's more of a gift than a meme. I use some.
But hey, we can
freedom here, but
we can quote Simpsons till as the day is long.
Absolutely.
Because of that very thing. All right, moving on.
I'm just wondering, what's the point? Would it make any difference at all if I never existed? How can we sleep at night when there's so much suffering in the world?
Yeah.
That's the point with Dr. Baker.
Yeah, this episode.
How do you sleep at night, Baker?
I don't
sleep at night.
Well,
on top of
a pile of money, top of a pile of money with many beautiful ladies.
Yeesh. The point of this episode, obviously, it's something that's difficult totally articulate, but the word melancholy comes to mind. Lisa's sad. She's not sad about her own state of affairs per se. She's sad about the world. Her depression is I guess something you could say that's characteristic of people that have that are depressive. It's more of a malaise or a mood that she's in than it is to do with anything particularly going on in her life. So the theme of this episode, or I guess the subject, the heart or meat of it, is that Lisa is a soulful, complex person who feels deeply about things and is saddened by the state of the world, whereas the other Simpsons just seem to be kind of existing in their own, little bubble. They're just focused on.
She's saddened by the fact that her family doesn't appreciate her concerns at all. Then when Marge finally does, it's like a breakthrough for her. She's like, "Oh wow, you think about things too."
Yeah, and I mean, I think too, it can be said, and this might be incidental, but I think again, it really plays into the idea of her being, too smart for her own age. I remember, not being quite as young as Lisa, but by the time I was in junior high, I started having a lot of these feelings too. But part of it was tied up in not just in the state of the world, but the fact that nobody around me seemed to understand or seemed to have the capacity to grasp anything outside of what was happening to them on a day-to-day. And it could be really isolating, you know what I mean? To think that no one else seems to have the capacity, or if they have the capacity, the willingness to want to try to understand anything beyond getting up and going to school or going to their job, coming home, eating supper, watching The Simpsons, and going to bed, right? So I think maybe, I'm not sure if that was their intention, but just from my own personal experience, I see this really, I think, show it's like a soft way to show just how much of an intellectual she really is, and the isolation that she's feeling with that, right?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Good Lisa episode.
Yeah, it's a good Lisa episode for sure.
Which I guess leads us to, what do we think of this episode?
Not yet.
The Greeks knew it. The Carthaginians knew it. Now you know it.
History and antiques with Davan first. I'm going to talk about music history tonight here, fellas. So, Bleeding Gums Murphy was based on Sonny Rollins. Walter Theodore Sonny Rollins.
Great jazz musician.
Great. I listened to his album, the entire thing, The Bridge, yesterday, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and it was amazing. I
Interesting, they found him on a bridge as well.
Well, that's the thing. So,
So am I stealing your thunder here, Dav?
Not all of it. I got some thunder. So, right out of high school, he starts playing, backup saxophone for some hits. Right out of first, the likes of, I don't know, like Babs Gonzalez, not someone I'm particularly aware of, but he was making some money playing some hits. And then, even though he's already making a career playing saxophone in 1949, is when that was. In 1950, he gets arrested for armed robbery and spends 10 months in Rikers.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do to survive, man.
Man, it was hard times. But literally, as soon as he gets out of Rikers, he's already playing with Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk. He just starts playing with everybody.
Think about what that jail time did to your street cred, bud.
Well, fair enough. Maybe they let him play in there. I don't know. A lot of practice time if they did.
I think Jazz, they just cared about how good you were, not if you were in prison or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, he's been called things like the greatest improviser alive and all kinds of things. But by 1954, he starts doing his own albums and has some hits like Oleo and Doxy. And then,
but with great features by some of those guys you mentioned as well, though those guys would release names, albums under their own name, but they would have featuring Thelonious Monk on piano or whatever. They're a great era for jazz.
It's just collab all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was. But credit to Marge with her "Get away from that Jazzman." He was addicted to drugs, so he had to go to rehab there for a while. But then he's just throwing out hits and hits and hits. And then, but himself, he felt like he had plateaued as a musician, even though the hits would say otherwise. So he takes his first sabbatical away from music in 1959, in the summer of 1959. And he just walks down to a bridge on the Lower East Side of Manhattan every day and just practices there for up to like 16, 18 hours a day.
Which is where we get the Bleeding Gums Murphy connection.
Which is where we get him on the bridge. And he does this, fellas, and does nothing else but this every day for like almost 2 years. No, more than 2 years. He stops in the fall of 1961, so he just practices for like 16 hours a day on this bridge for 2 years. And like people would walk by him, people would do articles about him because it's Sonny Rollins there playing on this bridge, you know. So that's pretty crazy, and that's where we get the Bleeding Gums Murphy on the bridge, and that's where the album that he comes back with is called The Bridge, and that's the one I listened to yesterday, and it was pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, I had never heard it before. Now I've heard Sonny Rollins a million times as a backup on Miles Davis and all these other things, but yeah, when you just look at his solo stuff, it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Sorry. I can't help it if I have an opportunity to talk like Miles Davis.
And he's still kicking. He was born in 1930, but he's still out there, you know, blowing the saxophone.
Hey, good for him.
Man. Yeah, man.
So, long live Sonny Rollins. R.I.P. Bleeding Gums.
Yeah, he outlasted Bleeding Gums, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, now let's move on to the ratings. On the established scale, and the reason I call it that is we're going to establish a scale here tonight. Francis and I were talking about this. If we're doing a scale on 1 to 10, we have to give the audience some idea of what a 10 is. So we were throwing some ideas back and forth, Francis and I, off the top of our heads. Like our first one that came to my mind was Frank Grimes.
Yeah,
like
Grimes is
that's a 10.
Homer's Enemy, I believe, is the name. The official name of the episode.
If that's not a 10, I don't know what is.
It is a 10, I think. It's a brilliant episode.
I'm gonna throw
we'll talk about that more when it comes to Homer at the Bat. I think is my 10.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Wait, is that the mascot one or the baseball one?
The one with all with Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh, I agree with you. For me, that one's
I haven't seen that in a long time, and Davan always brings this up as one of his favorite episodes. I need to rewatch it when we get there to give it a fish. But I do remember enjoying it. I would probably have to go like we were into a bit of that whiskey Davan's drinking right now. That's that Scotch onto it.
No, we were into the single malt from the homeland.
Oh, that's not what
you're gonna say. The Beer Baron. That's a good episode.
Beer Baron's good, but I would have to say my top ever 10 is Homer's Phobia, the one where he thinks Bart's gay. That one.
Okay,
that's a great.
I will laugh. Forever.
Zap.
Yeah.
Zap. I do that all the time. Still. Yeah.
That and probably like the Space Coyote one with the watermelon and sanity peppers. Yeah.
See, that one doesn't do it as much for me. That one's not going to get a 10 from me at all.
That talking coyote was just a talking dog. Oh. Hi, Homer. Find your soulmate.
Even if that came up for me, it's like a 9 because the end of it's kind of weak where like he decides that he's going to walk off because he can't find his soulmate, but then it's like resolved super quick. March just like finds him.
No, the short shorts. Kind of a weekend. I love it. No, with the short
everything up to that
that one's great. That one's great.
It's almost like they give up because they just make out in front of a lighthouse, and then my boy Wiggum's just like, "Hey, shorts."
But
he is not a freak. He is a brute.
So this episode, though, what do we think of this episode compared to those?
Oh yeah. So now that we've established a scale, and Hank Scorpio might be a 10 as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's up there for sure. That's
You only move twice. Is that what it is called?
Yeah.
Let's see when we get there, though. It'd be funny the 10s we might mine over these seasons, fellas.
Well, I think we're gonna find
there's others.
Yeah, because even just in the conversation me and Davan were having, we kept being like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that one," and like, you know what I mean. So as we go through, we're gonna find some real gold. I'm giving this one a 3, guys.
Oh wow!
I liked the last one that I gave a 4, the Bart Army one.
That's
better.
I respect
this one.
I respect
it.
That.
It does have a lot of the heart that you guys are talking about. I see all that. It has a lot of depth, especially for something this early on and something that's supposed to be more of a funny show. But it didn't dragged me. I was yawning a bit watching it.
No, that's fair, man. We're not always all going to agree on these. What did you think?
I mean, but Bleeding Gums is great. He's a great character.
Yeah. All right. What do you think, Davan?
I'll give me. I like this one a lot. I think I like this one better. It might not be quite as funny as the last episode, but I like it way better in a lot of ways. I'm going to give this one a 6. My highest.
Yeah,
episode.
Actually, that's what I was going to give it to, is a 6. So it's fine.
The first one broke through the 5.
Yeah, maybe I just love jazz. Maybe that might be it.
I do too. And blues.
I don't know.
And
I also don't know if we talked about this, boys. I love Bart and Homer a lot, but I actually think maybe Lisa's my favorite member of The Simpsons, which is a bit of a spicy take. You know
what? You haven't put it that way, but you bring up Lisa a lot, in every conversation.
I like Lisa
in terms of her affecting the episode. Even if you didn't realize it about yourself, I was thinking that. I'm Baker really digs Lisa as a character.
Yeah, I think she's a cool foil because she's very different from the other Simpsons. The rest of them are pretty basic. We saw Marge, pretty simple-minded. She does ultimately come through and help out Lisa this episode, but bit of a simple character. But Lisa, I like her complexity.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I give it a 6. I enjoyed it. I laughed. I felt it made me emote. It was good.
You felt what Maggie's feeling.
Yeah, man. I would hug the TV if I wasn't watching it on.
That's an Electrolux if I've ever seen one. Yeah.
Oh, the tube TV.
Is it cable ready?
Yeah.
Is it cable, sir? You got yourself a date. Well, we put another one in the can there
for the
fellas.
washing machine. Yeah.
You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and also the audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. I put it up on a couple more places there, last week, so we're getting there. You can also contact us at kbbbl podcast@gmail.com if you want to tell us something, say something, speak your truth, do it.
Prank call us.
Do it. Definitely do that.
We'll cut you like a fish and drink your blood.
If we are a proud member of the, we will, because we're hellfish and we fight. We're the Fightingest podcast of the Fightingest Federation of all podcasts. And speaking of federations, we're a proud member of the United Federation of Podcasts, which has many other podcasts, such as that's us. Hold Up, my movie podcast with Chris Murphy. We just did an episode on party movies. That was fun. There were a couple of bad ones and a really good one that I'm glad was still really good. Also, check out Super Mater Brothers. They review your reality shows and stuff. I think we just did a MCU 2022 recap over there, the Mary Mater Marvel Society. That was really fun. Check that out. We have an award ceremony. Everything. It's very good. And I also have X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show, my show with Andre Mayette, where we review the X-Men, the animated series from the 90s, and also interview people involved with the making of that show. And my co-host Andre on that show has the Graphic Histories podcast. He just put up an episode today with Frank Forstall, who is an artist and filmmaker. And I started listening to that. I'm only halfway through, but it's super interesting. Everyone check that out. Also check out the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn and Michael Chan. They talk about horror things, and I think they do the odd interview on there as well. Also check out Trivial Debates, where we debate about trivial things, and it's a good time. Last one was on Christmas. The next one's on reality shows. And also check out all our many Star Trek contents. We got the Command Division over at Live Long and Podcast, where we review the shows. The Ops Division, where we do Star Trek radio theater in the writer's room. Rarely, but it does happen. And my Science Division, I run that Science Division. We launch probes. We do trivia. We debate the finer topics. We try to learn things from Star Trek over there. And, of course, we have the Locutors of Trek, where it's me and Dave Puxley talking smart about Star Trek and being silly and playing music. That's what we do. And that's it, fellas. That was the United Federation.
Bye, everybody. I see Sam. Really quickly, I'll say Pearl Island's probably my favorite. Kind of a basic answer to the Survivor question. But yes, my favorite
yes.
season of Survivor, Pearl Islands. Have a good night, everybody. Be well.
I try not to
Ring in the
encourage
new
young
year.
Samuel about bringing up Survivor.
Well, I got to start my own podcast for that. Anyway,
there already
cheers,
is one.
everybody.
You can go on Super Mater Brothers and talk Survivor with those guys, I'm sure.
One. The Mater Brothers talk about it, but there's also probably a billion Survivor podcasts. Unlike our show, the only Simpsons podcast. Anyway, have a good night, everybody.
I want to throw to Sam. I see a lot of stuff about you saying you're feeling neglected. I didn't realize I could see these comments until now. I thought I could only see what Davan put up.
Now everyone has the power. Baker already left, so later, everybody.
And bye.